Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I was lucky enough to chat with High School Musical, the series, actor Larry Saperstein. This spring, Larry can be seen starring opposite Olivia Rodrigo and Joshua Bassett in the second season of the Disney Plus series, as Ricky's best friend and wingman, Big Red. The show follows the students at East High School, where the original two-time Emmy-winning High School Musical film franchise was shot. Larry also recently starred as Timmy in the first season of BET's First Wives Club, and, during his sophomore year of college, he starred in the indie feature film Porno, now available on Shudder, which made its global premiere at Austin's own South by Southwest back in 2019. We talk about all that, plus Larry's favorite Disney songs, and a whole lot more. Hope you enjoy. Hi, Larry.
Hi.
Thanks for making time today.
Hi. How are you?
Doing great. I really appreciate it. When I was doing my research, I realized that I had literally just seen you on Shudder in Porno, which I hear it. I'll say it. I hear it. That's definitely a movie title that's got to have some context to it. I'm sure. When you were telling your folks that you got cast, we're like, no, but the career didn't go south. It's fine. And then now you are, of course, coming up in High School Musical, if I can get the entire title right, High School Musical, the series. Of course, now the interview. Can you talk a little bit about, was it a huge shift in gears to go from a horror production to a Disney show, or were they shot in a different order than I'm thinking, or?
No, I mean, I did do the horror film first. What was so great about that movie was it was really my first kind of opportunity to work as a principal character on any kind of film or TV project, and because it was that modest budget kind of indie film. It was such a great community. And, I was working with people that really just wanted to make a good horror movie, a good, funny movie that had, somewhat of an interesting commentary on, our society. And it was a really cool, project. And I actually think, although it sounds a little crazy, I think that it actually prepared me so well for working with Disney and for working on High School Musical, because really it got me comfortable in front of the camera, and it got me comfortable with learning how a set works and learning how to kind of be a professional actor on set.
Was it weird going back to college classes and being like, oh, y'all don't even know what I just did on my weekend?
That time was kind of just crazy because I was actually going back and forth filming that horror movie, and I think everyone was just really excited that I was doing something cool, and I always kind of knew that it was going to be a really cool kind of project. I never expected that it would get sort of the amazing debut and premiere that it did at South by Southwest, and it was really cool to see that it kind of got legitimized in that way, and that people, like you said, you just watched it, people can actually watch this film. And when we filmed it, there was sort of no guarantee of any of that, so it was really cool to kind of have that, watch that grow sort of simultaneously as I was kind of growing with the High School Musical stuff as well.
Yeah, I'm in a couple of online groups where we all attend film festivals, and we stay in touch because sometimes it takes 3 or 4 years, and somebody really has to keep a list going of, hey, such and such movie that we saw in 2017 that we all, cheered in the theater is finally out. And you'll go, oh gosh, yeah. Because, at fests, it's one of the beauties of it, but it's also, a problem sometimes that these things aren't guaranteed distribution. That's why they're there.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like Shudder's been wonderful in that regard. And I mean, similarly in this past year, I feel like we've all come to rely on our Disney Plus subscriptions if we've got them for huge movies and
Absolutely.
series. And, I mean, the entire MCU now. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like to get that gig? I mean, that's definitely not an indie production.
Yeah, for sure. I really just think that I was so incredibly lucky to kind of get this opportunity to work on an incredibly huge project. It's sort of attached to this incredibly huge franchise and High School Musical family. The second that I got the script for the pilot episode, when I was still auditioning, I read it and I was like, this is going to be really, really cool, because it was just something totally new and different that was able to kind of pay homage and be respectful of something that is such an important kind of Disney property. And I knew that people that were sort of older in their 20s, that kind of grew up with this High School Musical, world, would love it because of that kind of respect and that, attachment to the legacy. But then also, young people that are still in high school or middle school even, like, love it because it still has that spirit of, what a Disney show is. And it's just amazing. Like we really get to kind of act and we kind of, can play on our acting chops, but then we also get to sing and dance. And I really get to do everything that I love, all in one show. And I think there's, it's really once in a lifetime where you get a project like that.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, I'm sure your agent makes sure that, your tap dancing abilities and your singing abilities and everything are definitely on your resume. But at the same time, on a lot of shows, that's just going to be a karaoke episode every once in a while.
Absolutely. And what's really incredible too is, when I first auditioned for Big Red, he was not a tap dancing role. He was even not really going to be a singing role. But then the writers and the producers have been so amazing about using our talents as actors to kind of bring it into the show and breathe more life into the show and make it feel more real and more grounded. And so, they saw that I was a tap dancer and they sort of crafted the role around that and changed sort of Big Red's trajectory as a character because they wanted me to be able to bring that into the character. And so it's so wonderful that, and it's just sort of a thing with TV. I feel that, the actors and the characters kind of come together over time, but they really have allowed us to kind of bring our own skills into our characters, which has been so wonderful.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think when you have time like that to grow a character, it gets to be more of a conversation with the rest of the crew and the creators and the audience, and just really getting into the skin of it. In terms of the audition process, did you just have to do a self-tape where you just singing your heart out in a dining room?
No, well, of course, this I've been working on High School Musical for almost, or I guess over 2 years now. So it was early 2019, so kind of all the auditions were still in person at that point. I went in to do a very first audition, and I thought it went well. And the next day, I actually flew down to Florida to visit my grandparents, and I got a phone call that was like, "Hey, can you come back to New York tomorrow to do a callback?" And I was like, I don't know, maybe. And they said, they called me back and they're like, it's actually serious. They are really looking at you. And, if there's any chance that you can get there, really try your best to get there. And, my grandparents, my parents were like, go, you have to go. And so I found the nearest flight, the next flight that I could back to New York. And I flew back and I did a callback the next day. And then a couple of days later, they were like, we want to fly you out to LA to do a chemistry reading and a scene test with Joshua Bassett, who plays my best friend Ricky on the show. And so I flew out to LA, and it was my very first time in LA. And I did the screen test, and then a couple days later, I had got the role, and I was the last series regular cast. So it was a very quick turnaround. I think from the day that I got the role to the day that we started filming in Salt Lake City was about 2.5 weeks. So I had to fly to Salt Lake City, move, and get everything together in about a week, which was wild. But it was a great roller coaster.
Yeah, I never really think about that, but I mean, casting things happen in order. There have to be people who were attached to this project for a year already going, come on, we've got our big red. Great. It's on.
Right. Yeah. And I think that was also because I was in New York, and there were a lot of reasons, but, I think they were also just trying to find the right person, someone that could bring, a kind of an additional sensibility. They didn't want something to be super wacky or super crazy. They wanted it to feel more grounded. And I think that's what I was able to kind of bring into the role and bring into the show.
Dropping into it, were there things that you and Joshua, or you and Olivia, made sure that you did to get, kind of on the same page as the cast and make sure that chemistry was there?
When we first got to Salt Lake City, we had plenty of game nights as a full cast, not just one-on-ones. It was really always about kind of, because we knew that the show was really touching on this idea of finding your tribe and finding your family, and we knew that over the season of season 1, it was going to grow into this kind of wonderful family as our characters, and so we wanted to kind of bring that into our real lives as well. And so we would take basically every opportunity we could to kind of go out for dinner or have a game night and, go whatever sightseeing, go on hikes in Salt Lake City, because we were also all in this new place together in this new city. And so yeah, and I think that really helps. I think you really feel that in season 1, and especially now in season 2, where the gang is sort of already established.
Yeah.
I think you really feel that throughout the show. And that's really a testament to kind of the work we did as people to build our friendship so that it would read on screen.
And you also are interested more than acting and are a screenwriter yourself. Or can you talk a little bit about when you're setting out to make a project, what kind of themes and what kind of stuff do you see yourself making?
Yeah, well, I'm still a very new screenwriter, and I think those kind of things change over time. As you get older, you start to have some new perspectives. Sort of the first project that I ever worked on was heavily kind of based in, being sort of a 20-something in New York and finding your place. The character that I had written was trying to find his place in kind of a queer community and an LGBTQ space. And I felt like that is something that's not talked about very often, because a lot of times you talk about sort of just being gay or just being lesbian or whatever, but there's a lot of other identities as well. And finding those other avenues and finding those other the identity that suits you the best is not often talked about, especially in mainstream media. And so that was sort of something that I had initially worked on. I love comedy, and I love things that are funny and lighthearted. So sort of in the next few things that I'm working on, I'm trying to brighten them up a bit and bring sort of a comedy into it. But I'm very excited to see how, as I get older and as I kind of develop my perspective as an adult, how those things will kind of change in the writing that I do and in what I'm able to kind of create as a creator.
Do you remember if there was a particular movie or show that you saw when you were a kid that made you think, I want to find out how that happens. I want to be, people make that. I want to be part of that.
Oh, well, there are always just a few movies that I just think have such like streamlined, incredible writing. One of them, believe it or not, is like The Devil Wears Prada. I know it's like such a mainstream movie.
I just rewatched that recently. No, Eileen Brooks McKenna's script is amazing on that.
Yeah, like it's really, when you just like actually break down the script, and I've spent like a good amount of time breaking down that script because it is so like such a clear story. And I love when a story, and I actually have spent a lot of time in my life sort of breaking down sitcoms, like classic. I love breaking down episodes of like Frasier or The Big Bang Theory even, because a lot of times those stories are so, you know, kind of by the book,
it's astonishing,
streamlined and straightforward. Yeah. And so I think it's a wonderful like case study almost to kind of break down, this is where this happened and this is where this happened. A lot of Dan Harmon work is very similar too, like episodes of Community, or, you know, even believe it or not, like Rick and Morty. It's so clear how the story grows, even though it's kind of out of left field sometimes, but you can see the trajectory, you can see the path. And so I love kind of dissecting that kind of writing.
Yeah, I think I was in art school in college, and when it kind of hit me that somebody just telling you make any art you want is really kind of a problem. Like, it's just too much.
Yeah, for sure.
And that some structure of rules or you know, artificial constraints would make for more creative space. And I remember discovering the same thing in writing of being astonished how classic sitcoms hit these beats on the same minute every time.
Absolutely,
and yet 90% of the viewing public is never going to notice it. I mean, that's your job, is to hide the scaffolding.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's like the beauty of it.
Well, thanks so much for talking to me about all this today. Looks like an absolute blast of a day job to get to be Big Red.
Thank you.
And
thank you so much.
Can't wait to see what you get to do next. Is there a particular Disney song that you wish that they would just accidentally drop into the series for you?
Well, you know, in season 2 we're doing Beauty and the Beast, so I actually am just so excited about all the Beauty and the Beast music that we get to share. In season 1, I would have said anything from Beauty and the Beast. So when I found out that we were doing Beauty and the Beast for season 2, it's kind of like a dream come true.
Well, everybody else is just on a show that they're tailoring to you. It's great.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.
TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.